All right, a rotation turns a figure around a point called the center of rotation. A rotation turns a figure around a point called the center of rotation. So in this figure right here, this would be called the center of rotation. And this figure here, the triangle, is rotating around this center of rotation. Okay, so there's 3 different types of rotations we're going to talk about. The first type of rotation is a rotation of 90 degrees clockwise. So that's around the clock that way. Okay, so going that direction around the clock at 90 degrees. And so the rule for that is you start with XY, and then it goes to YX, and the X is negative. So that is a clockwise 90-degree rotation. Now we talked about clockwise. There's also counterclockwise, which is going the opposite way around the circle. And the rule of 90 degrees. And the rule for that, you start here at XY, and then they rotate again. This is YX, but the negative, the Y becomes negative. And then lastly, a rotation of 180 degrees. It really doesn't matter if you go clockwise or counterclockwise because you end up at the same spot. And the rule for that is you start here and then you end up with negative X, negative Y. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply these 3 different rules with some example problems. Okay, so the first example here is to graph the rotation of triangle PQR 90 degrees clockwise around the origin. So let's go ahead and write down what that rule is. So you start with XY. And 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees clockwise would be Y negative X. Like that. Okay? Then we're just going to apply this rule to each one of these points, these vertices. So let's start with P. P is 1, 2. And then we're just going to apply this rule to get P prime. Which means the Y, this is the X and this is the Y, right? So the Y goes first, which is 2, and then the X becomes negative, which would be negative 1. All right? And so that is my new point after a 90-degree clockwise rotation around the origin. So 2, negative 1. So 2, negative 1. This is my P prime. Excuse me. Okay. Now, I want you to notice this is around the origin. So I can take this P to the origin and draw a straight line. And then I'm going to draw a straight line from this P prime to the origin. And look at that. That is 90 degrees. And see, we're going clockwise. So do you see that? It rotated 90 degrees clockwise. And that's why we're right there. Okay, perfect. Let's look at the next point. Let's try Q. Is the point 3, 4. And then we're just going to apply this rule and get Q prime. So the Y goes first, so that means 4 goes first, and then the X becomes negative, which would be 3, so it would be negative 3. So that's our Q prime. 4, negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is our Q prime. All right. And I can do the same thing if I take Q. I'm going to use green. I draw a line to the origin, and then I take Q prime and draw a line to the origin. Again, what do I have? I have 90 degrees right there, and it's rotating clockwise. So do you guys see how it rotates down there? So cool. All right, the last one, let's look at R. And R is 5, 3. And it's going to rotate to R prime. So what happens? The Y is first, so 3. And then the X becomes negative, so it becomes negative 5. And then we just graph that. So 1, 2, 3, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be right here. And this is r prime. And then I'm just going to make here. And then here's my figure. I can kind of shade it in a little bit. And what was this? This was P prime. And there's the figure rotated 90 degrees clockwise. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and look at B now. B says graph the rotation of triangle PQR 90 degrees counterclockwise around the origin. Okay, so what is that rule for counterclockwise? I know we start with X, Y, and then counterclockwise, 90 degrees counterclockwise, ends up being -YX. Okay. So we're just going to use this rule for these 3 points. So let's start with P. Is 1, 2. And we're going to go to P prime. And so the Y becomes negative, so it becomes -2, and X is 1. So I'm just going to plot that. -2, 1. -2, 1 is here. And this is going to be my P prime. And I can go ahead, if I take this P and go to the origin and take this P prime and go to the origin again, you can see that it creates this 90-degree angle, except now we're going counterclockwise. It's going from there to there. Isn't that cool? All right, let's go to the next one, Q. Q is, what is Q? 3, 4. Okay, and that goes to Q prime. And then the Y becomes negative, so it's going to be -4, 3. Okay, so -4, 3 would be right there. And that's going to be Q prime. And then lastly, what do we have? R. R is 5, 3. And then that's going to be R prime, which is the Y becomes negative, so -3 and then 5. So -3 up, 5 would be right here. And that would be R prime. And then we have our lovely counterclockwise rotation of 90 degrees right here. I don't know why I'm coloring it in. I just feel like it looks better when it's colored in. I'm kind of like there. So from here, counterclockwise 90 degrees. Perfect. Okay, so on to our last example. So for this one, what we're going to do is graph the rotation of triangle PQR 180 degrees around the origin. Ooh, so we need to write that rule. We start with X, Y, and then it goes to, I think I remembered this one. It's the same, it's just -X, -Y. Okay, super easy, we can do that. Let's start with P. Okay, so P is 1, 2. And then we're going to go to P prime, which just means those are going to be negative. So -1, -2. Boom. Let's graph it. -1, -2 is right here. That is P prime. Okay, cool. Let's go on to the next one, Q. Q is 3, 4. And I really like the ones that are rotated around the origin. Goes to Q prime, and these just become negative. So -3, -4. Boom, shakalaka. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There is my Q prime. And then lastly, R. R is 5, 3. And that's going to go to R prime. And those just become negative. -5, -3. And then we go here, -5, -3, 1, 2, 3. Boom. R prime. And that's it. We just go ahead and connect those dots and get our lovely little triangle. Oh, that wasn't very good line. There. Okay, and then I'm going to color it in just because I did it on all the other ones. I don't want this one to feel left out. Okay, so I need it to be a happy little blue triangle that's rotated 180 degrees about the origin. Okay, I think that's about good enough. All right, so you see that? Rotated 180 degrees. And if I were to, let's just take P, right, and connect it to the origin here. Okay, then I would take P prime and connect it to the origin, and you look at that. It's a lovely straight line, and straight lines are all 180 degrees. So there you go. Yeah, so that's it for this lesson. I will see you next time.